Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Message. Some of you are smiling right now because I actually had somebody tell me they were listening to the last episode and they actually had a little moment where they were kind of upset because they heard us say that it was the last episode. No, it was the last episode for 2025. So this is the first episode of 2026, episode 32.
We are starting off with a bang. But
yeah, it's a low bar, but we figure we can only go up from here. So this week, speaking of, obviously we got Pastor Matt here,
Hey, guys.
Mike, and we got Dr. Keith, and we're just going to take a couple minutes, and this week really going to hit something a little bit different than kind of our normal. It is a new year. We're still early in the year, and so we really wanted to take some time this week and talk about kind of that idea, that new year, New Year's resolution, spiritual resolution dynamic, and what that looks like in all of our lives, and maybe some tips, some advice that we can share with everybody listening in on this. So,
new year, new you.
Exactly.
My first one is, let's not call it episode 32. Let's call it season 2, episode 1.
Oh, see, now you're just getting confusing. But I like it.
Two. That's
I like
actually.
Season 2,
But I like
episode
it.
1.
It's actually not horrible. That's not actually horrible.
It's not horrible.
Are you a new year, new you guy? Are you a?
No, but I do resolutions.
Do you do?
I need to do it.
Have you ever made a resolution ever stick?
No.
Like for life?
No,
Have you? You've never had
absolutely
one?
not.
You never had one?
No.
trying-
Last year I did good to like October, and that was an eating thing. Did incredible. And now I'm a balloon again. And
October, November,
need
December.
counseling. So
Oh, I thought you were saying you ate until October of last year. That was mine.
What was yours last year? Do you remember?
Resolution?
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of like Keith. I don't typically make like a hardcore, like, okay, this is going to be, but I kind of look at just kind of, I guess, metrics, if you will, of life. And just every year maybe just say, okay, where are these kind of facets or categories of life? Like, where am I at on, you know, like a scale of 1 to 5 or whatever, and just kind of evaluate that way, you know, as are you seeing growth overall? Because, you know, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's kind of like jumping on a diet and announcing it, you know. It's like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and then, you know, you fall flat and you beat yourself up. So for me, it's always just kind of been of, hey, if I'm, you know, a 3 maybe at the end of the previous year, then hey, you know what, I want to end this next year stronger or better or higher. So that's kind of where, you know, I've been. You know, one thing last year that really, and I'll credit my wife on this, that she really pushed is getting even more and more structured as far as like Bible reading and things like that, because I tend to be one where I will read, but I'll read based on maybe, you know, the season of life, season of the year, or something going on in life, whatever, where it's like, okay, I'm going to dig into this book or this topic or whatever, to where she just said, hey, you know what? We're going to sit down, we're going to have a structured plan, and we're just going to trust God to speak through that. And so kind of did, you know, really push that last year.
You know, in 24, I know we're going way back. I said, and going into 24, my resolution was no Swiss cake rolls, no donuts, and no energy drinks. And I did it the whole year. And then the January 1st
of 25?
25, I drank an energy drink. And the kids were like, what are you doing, Dad? And I said, I told you I was going to quit for a year. And I
Year's
can,
over.
and year's over. And I can do that, which is crazy. And then now that is actually one of my things, is quitting energy drinks. And I haven't had one now for, what is today? Whatever today is, the 6th.
Yeah.
Hey, but I don't even crave it. Like, I can do that. Like I said, when I got to speak, that it's almost like it's magical, like the calendar flip. Like, I can just stop things, which is
in your
weird.
case, you went the wrong way. The calendar flip,
Yeah.
you went back.
And I'm like, bam. But now I'm back off it
Did
again.
it?
So
Now I'm done.
yeah. So
So let me ask you guys this, because obviously, you know, if anyone is still listening to this at this point,
They
other,
are.
other, other than laughing at us. So we're 6 days into the year so far, and we talked about this a little bit this past week. You know that, especially by the time the weekend hit, is hey, we're already into a new year. You know, so maybe you're listening to this, you're 6 days in, and you're like, well, we're 6 days in. Why are you doing this now?
Yeah.
But I think we're still early in the year, and you know, like we alluded to last week, hey, any day, spiritually speaking, can be January 1st in life. Any day can be the day that you say, hey, you know what? Here's the line in the sand. I'm starting over. I'm hitting the reset button. So what advice would you give to somebody who is not, and of course this is a very broad statement, but they're not where they want to be spiritually speaking, but they know that, hey, I do want to go deeper. That maybe last year on that scale, maybe last year I was a 1, maybe I was a 0, maybe I was a 2, whatever. But they want to go deeper. They want to grow in their faith. What would be kind of that standout advice that you would give to an individual listening to this?
I think it's always good to self-evaluate.
Yeah.
You got to self-evaluate. I need to do that, all of us, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
One of my favorite verses is, and it deals with that, is Luke 2:52. And it's the last verse of Luke 2, but it says, and Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God and with men. So I think if our Savior, I don't know, he was little then, but if he had to grow, then we need to grow.
Yeah.
And spiritually speaking, we need to grow in favor with God, and we can't gain his favor. He favored us. He gave everything to us, but are we walking? Are we growing closer? Where are we with him? And I sure need that self-evaluation. Pastor Matt shared this week from the podium so effectively that sometimes we study to preach. We study to build messages.
Yep.
But I didn't read just for me, Lord, speak to me. And that's so important, And before I was a pastor, I didn't understand that. Well, you're studying, but it is different. It is different. So
I think I have two. And the first one is, if you slip early, don't give up.
Right.
And I know you touched on that, Pastor Mike, but so my personal reading is I'm trying to lock back in. Well, yesterday, or 2 days ago, I don't even know what day it is today, Sunday.
You're not alone.
I actually missed my personal reading, got up early with my son. We came to church. I made sure I was ready to go for the message, got home. We had some great family time, and I missed my reading that day. And I think sometimes people go, well, I've already screwed it up.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
But it's like, listen, life happens, and don't quit too early. Lock back in. I think I told you that story of a friend of mine. We'd swim lakes in Minnesota, and we'd swim, and we were halfway, and he said, I got to turn around and go back. I can't make it. And I'm like, we're halfway in the middle of the lake. Like, it's the same distance. Like, and he's like, no, I can't. And he turned around and went back. I think what we do is we're like, all right, I'm on fire. I'm going to do it for 5 days. And then I miss. And then I'm like, okay, I got to quit. See, look I can't do it. But it's just like, just keep going. Just keep walking, baby steps. That's the first thing but then I would say this as well. Pray. And I know they're like, well, you're a pastor. Of course you're going to say pray. But I think when we think prayer, we're like, oh, you need to have this super elongated prayer at the beginning of the day, or we have this massive prayer at night and we fall asleep and then we feel bad that we fell asleep halfway through our prayer. I think, to create like kind of a habit, do mini prayers throughout the day, like mini ones. Something pops in your head. My wife pops in my head, or my kids. I'm like, God, thank you for them. Just keep them safe today. And you have these little, maybe 10 1-minute prayers or 10 30-second prayers throughout the day. Then it's like kind of takes the pressure off. It's a continual conversation with God. And I don't know, that for me kind of stokes my fire a little bit,
So many M-I-N-I and many M-A-N-Y.
Yes, many prayers. Many prayers. Yeah.
Pray without ceasing, the Bible says.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I would say. What about you?
Pray that 10 times fast. It's funny as you were saying that, I thought about, and this goes back years ago in the church. You might remember this, Dr. Keith.
Years ago, yeah, he'll remember it for sure. Because, how was Moses? Was he really nice?
He was awesome.
Because you were...
Third cousin once removed.
Yeah, you were hanging out with him quite often. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, boy. But you may remember this, but one of the things Pastor Brent pushed, it's been probably, I would say 10 years. It's probably been closer to 15 years ago. But we really went through a season where we really pushed the entire church to jump on, get a reading plan, and do this together. And we laid out, we picked the 90-day Bible reading plan. You read through the Bible in 90 days.
Oh.
But the funny thing, and if you think about it, compared to a lot of what, most people strive for, most people go for a year. So 90 days is quick. But it was funny because I remember in that, it even says in because it was a formal structured plan that we had found that we liked, but it says on there, okay, technically this is the Bible in 88 days because we're giving you 2 days to cheat because we know you're not going to be perfect.
Oh, interesting.
But my point with that is what you were just saying. I think that is so important is Bible reading plans are great. Yep. It is important to have a plan, whether it is someone else's that you say, hey, I'm going to commit to doing this and you jump on board, or something you take up yourself that you decide, hey, in a year I'm going to read through, whether it's the whole Bible, the Gospels, whatever it is. But it's important to have a plan. But the key is to understand that you're not going to be perfect. Like you said, there's going to be days where, hey, you might be beat up, you might be tired, you might have, hey, life happens, to where something outside of your control where you don't get 5 minutes to sit down and go, okay, now I'm going to sit here and read my Bible. Like that happens. And so it's important to understand you are a human being and that you're not going to be perfect. So whether it is a full year, whether it's 90 days, whether it's just the Gospels, whatever that looks like in your life, understand it is better to be taking steps forward than to go stagnant and allow one day to mess you up to just go, like you said, get halfway across the lake and go, you know what? I'm just going to go and start all over. I'm just going to quit completely because, I'd rather do that than than nothing at all. So, I think we got to be careful with that. And I think that's important. I remember one of the reading plans that I was doing, and man, I was doing the whole Bible in a year, was doing really well with it, had been super consistent, and then we had a week's vacation away. And just the nature of it, it was up early, bed late, all that stuff. And it's like, so you had a couple days, you get out of routine, and then you're like, oh man, I have all this time that I need to make up and all this stuff. And it's like, you can easily in those moments make an excuse and go, well, I've messed up, so that's it for the year. Yeah. Or you can say, hey, you know what? You're either going to catch up and do a little extra reading, or you go, you know what? An extra 3 days at the end of the year is not going to kill me as long as I get through this. But the point is keep moving forward, and Pastor Brent's talked about this when it comes to tithing as an example, and he says, hey, he goes, you may be looking at your budget and go, well, I can't tithe. That's 10% of my income. That would be massive. Yep. And we just don't have that in our budget right now because our finances are so messed up. Okay. But then like you said, what about 1%? Yeah. What about 0.5%? The point is it's better to move forward and to make some progress and to be going in the right direction than to make none whatsoever. And so I think that's the big thing.
You saying like it helps with your momentum?
Your momentum.
Wow, that's
I feel like we're going to be talking about that later.
That's good. Yeah.
A word.
Hey, by the way,
give ourselves grace.
Yeah, give ourselves grace.
Yeah,
absolutely. Pastors need grace. Our people need grace for sure. The people who listen to this.
I'm doing the Pastor Pat Bible reading this year. If you guys remember what she did, for all of you that are listening, that new Pastor Pat, she told me one time she reads the Old Testament in the morning and she reads the New Testament at night. And she would read at least a chapter each day of an Old Testament and New Testament. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to try it. And it's interesting because I loved her so much. I know we all did. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me, literally, I think of her every time I read it. I have a moment where she pops in my brain and makes me smile.
Good. It's good. I don't remember who this was, but a podcast or a book or something years ago, but it resonated with me. This author or podcast speaker said that if we can just do little chunks, and he said, could you change 1% about you today? Mm-hmm. Could you change 1%? And all of us, I think, will go, I could do that. That sounds easy. Well, if you change 1%, that's a 3 times plus difference in a whole year. So what about just changing 1% per week? Yeah. Something I could do 1% better. Well, you're a half different person in a year if you do that. 50 weeks, given 2 weeks off, and just take it in little pieces. I'm going to do better than I have before. Yeah. And who knows how we'll grow from that. So doesn't have to be a resolution, doesn't have to be right now, but hey, let's decide to grow, change something.
Well, and I think that's what ultimately is the most important thing to understand is again, none of us are perfect, in any aspect of life.
True.
And yet it's funny how many Christians beat ourselves up over these issues when we go, hey, we set out with the right motivation. We set out with the right idea and all, but yet we miss a day, we make a mistake, whatever. And then it's just, we give up, we wave the white flag, as opposed to going, you know what? It's like, I don't know, halfway through the Bible, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I was halfway through. You know what? That is halfway further than I got last year. And instead of beating myself up and going, I missed a day or two, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to keep going, And so what if you don't finish in exactly 365 days? Keep moving, keep marching, So let me ask you guys this. So we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but what is maybe one thing that maybe helped change this dynamic for each of you personally, to where, because we can talk about this all the time, and we can try to encourage and say, hey, read your Bible, pray, all those things, which you should be. But maybe what was something that kind of clicked in your mind personally that kind of changed this for you, to where you went, okay, it's like now I've got a different mindset about this, or a different approach to maybe help with consistency or what have you?
Well, I think for me, it was the term that I took from back in the day was push the clock forward. And that can work positive or negative.
Yeah.
But where I was, I think back at the first time I read through the Bible, the very first time I ever read through it, and I felt the calling on my life, and I pushed the clock forward like, okay, if I don't read through the Bible, how am I going to complete a calling? How am I going to be able to help, shepherd or help people? So that was one of those things. I think making it real life like that, like now, I'll throw myself on the bus. We were laughing about this earlier, but I need to get healthier. I mean, I'm no lie. I mean, listen, I play basketball still with some guys at the community center, and I love that. I mean, I could still jog if I needed to, keeping up with the youth. But I know that there is some things I need to change in my diet, and I need to work on that. And literally for me, what's helping, especially, dropping energy and stuff like that, is I'm going to push the clock forward. If I continue this way, am I giving God, everything that I can? I talked about it, our bodies are temples, and is God going to be able to use me in the ways that he wants to use me? Or should I make that change, with the two young kids? And so that's what I do. I like to push the clock forward, and I like to literally, it's kind of a self-assessment. Like, man, if I keep going the way that I'm going, where's that going to be? But that can be a positive too, where I'm like, man, there's some aspects of my life that God has used that is working really, really well. If I push the clock forward and keep doing that, how many more people can I help, and how many more people, and how can I, help my family? So
Yeah, I like it.
Good. This is a morbid way to think about it, but Matt said I was old earlier, and that's true. So I'm way over halfway dead. I'm much closer to my death date than my birth date. So if I'm going to do something, I better do it.
better do now.
Just today, I learned about a guy that he was one of my daughter's classmates that had a stroke, and nothing's guaranteed. But if we're going to do it, we ought to do it. We ought to do it. So why not in 2026?
Yeah, I had a counseling
now?
appointment yesterday, and the gentleman I was talking to said to me, he goes, man, I just feel like with everything that's happening in my life right now, it's God saying, hey, it's now or never.
Yeah.
Like, where you're at in your age, where you're at in your lifestyle, where you're at in all this, he's like, it's now. Now, listen, now or never, we never know when our never's going to be, right? When our time's up, and God's graces, man, they're new every morning. But he even felt that. He was like, man, if I don't start making those changes now, reading my Bible, praying more, living right, living better, dropping some sin in my life, something bad's going to happen. So, yeah.
I like that. If I think for me, a big, I guess one of those big moments, if you will, would probably be after our son was born,
Yep.
And it's just that reality check that as a parent, when you go, hey, I've got, my child and now children looking at me,
Yep.
and they are paying attention whether we realize it or not, but they're looking at me. And so what lifestyle am I showing them? What habits am I showing them? what legacy do I want my kids to pick up on one day, to where, you know, what do I want their lives to look like? And if my life doesn't align with the direction I want their lives to go, then obviously there's a problem. And so that's, you know, in every facet of life. So your spiritual habits and all that. It's like, hey, I don't go to the house and go, okay. Now there have been moments as a family where like, hey, come sit with, you know, me and mom, and let's sit and we're going to read together and all.
Yeah.
But I don't sit there and parade around and go, okay, I'm going to look at me. I'm going to read my Bible now. But you know what? I would rather my kids walk in on me behind a closed door with my Bible open,
Yeah.
reading my Bible or praying, doing the right things, versus walking in and going, oh, so that's what dad does behind closed doors, you know?
Yeah, true.
And the cool thing is, you know, not to say we are perfect, because we're not by any means, but I have seen, now that they're getting a little bit older, and they've got a little bit more independence, I've seen Micah, you know, walked in late at night and he's awake in his room after he's supposed to be asleep. And I'm like, what is he doing? Go in there and look. And the kid is sitting up and he's like, well, Dad, I got to read just a little bit more in my Bible because I'm not done for the night. And I'm like, how can you be mad at that? You know, it's like, okay.
Go to bed right now,
It's
son.
like, I really need you to go to bed because I know what tomorrow's going to look like, but it's really hard to be mad at that.
Yeah, it's
but you know, but that's one of those things for me that made a big difference. And then the other thing I would say, just on the practical side, and I've alluded to this before, you brought up Pastor Pat, and this is one of those things that, again, she did and is stuck with me, and that is, she would take, and we've talked about the YouVersion Bible app a lot. There's lots of different apps out there you can use. That's just one that we all tend to like. But I'll take the YouVersion Bible app. I open up a reading plan. I open it in the translation that I physically have in front of me. So I will have a physical, for me, a New Living Translation in front of me most of the time. So I will open the New Living Translation on the Bible app and let the voice, the recorded voice, read audibly what I am reading visually at the same time. So you're engaging all the senses at one time as you're reading. And for me, there was something about that helped with consistency, that helped with memorization, all that stuff. And that was something that, you know, that she was really big on. And she was like, this is what I do. And at first when she said that, I'm like, I feel like that would be very distracting. But for me, it actually worked out that was a huge help when I decided to try it.
Well, I wish it was Morgan Freeman's voice on that Bible app, because that would be great.
Ooh.
But no.
Yeah. That would change the
so good.
some of the phrasing, some of the...
And I mean, you especially need it at the beginning of Matthew when it goes through the genealogy stuff. But yeah, I do think there's some practical stuff. I think the devil's really good at distracting us.
Yes.
And I'll say this because I know you want to say one last thing, Keith. I do think we need to turn our TV off.
Yes.
And we need to turn our phones off.
Yes.
On Do Not Disturb. You did it right before this. You're like, I got to put on Do Not Disturb because my phone's blowing up. I think we need to do less of TV, less of phones. And I know this, we say that every year, and we need more time with God. If it's worship music in the background and it's prayer, journaling, reading our Bible, we get so sucked in. Why? Because it's easy to sit and listen to toxic stuff being told to us over and over again. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. I don't care what you're watching.
You went there.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but I think it's real life. And we need to turn that stuff off because it's noise.
Yes.
Yes, we need to be informed. That's great. But a lot of the times we're like, we've heard this 50,000 times. I used to watch Sports Center, and it would repeat every hour. And I would watch Sports Center for 3 hours in a row. I've already seen every clip, but it repeated, and I would watch it. It's like, I just wasted 2 hours because I've already seen it once. What can I do with that time that I'm wasting and distracting? So
Yeah, very much. Mike, I appreciate that. I don't do it that way, but there are times where I'll study the Word in the morning, and then I'm driving to hospitals or driving a distance, and I will pull up my YouVersion app and just go to where I read and let it read to me just through my speakers of the truck.
Right.
And it's nice to listen
yeah.
when you've already read it that morning, and I enjoy that. Sometimes if I'm doing Proverbs, I'll just hit redoing, and I'll listen to, Proverbs 17.
And listen to past messages of Pastor Brent and stuff.
Sure.
Right.
All that's good.
Well, and
Setting it up for you, buddy. Softball.
he tried. You missed it.
You missed this.
It was right there. And what you said, Matt, I will reiterate that, if you're that person, and most of us are, that you're like, I have to have something on in the background or else I can't concentrate, because we're all so overstimulated that now it's like we can't handle silence.
Yeah.
But if that is you and you find yourself going, well, I just put it on to have background noise. Well, then, like Matt said, replace whatever it is, the news, with worship music or the Bible being read to you, or, but something of a positive spiritual influence into your life. Be fed by the right things as opposed to other people's opinions and other gossip and rumors and whatever else that is circulating out in our society. Because let's be honest, our society, we agree on something for all of about 2 minutes and then opinions change anyways.
Sure.
So instead, let's lock in on God's word and on our relationship with him. And you know what? And some of you, maybe you're in the car right now and this goes off. You need to, instead of listening to the next thing, turn your radio off for a minute and just as you're going down the road, keep your eyes open. And as you're going down the road, just talk to God. Just spend the next few minutes in your drive just talking to God about your day, what's going on, your family, whatever it is. And if you will do little things like that, like we talked about earlier, pray without ceasing, man, it makes a huge difference in the dynamic of your day, your attitude, your perspective, everything.
Yeah, my last little point will be 2 minutes. If you're married or if you're got a boyfriend or girlfriend or even a best friend, you want to strengthen that relationship. What do you need? You need to communicate with that person. You need to know what that person likes and doesn't like, and you need to talk to them, right? Talk to them and have some kind of communication. There's no difference in our relationship with God. Spend time with him. You carve out precious time with your loved ones or your boys or whatever, and carve out precious time with God. Find out what God likes and what he doesn't like, right? And that's how you build relations. Spend time with them.
Yep.
And if you don't, a relationship's not going to grow. You do, you'll know that your relationship with God will be great and your life will change for the better.
We say it all the time. It's relationship, not religion.
Yeah.
A few minutes a day.
Yep.
A huge difference.
That's right.
Yep. Well, guys, listen, this week, Pastor Brent said it this past week, be here, make church a priority. That's another thing as we get the year rolling. Get into that habit. If you were that person, you come to church once a month, hey, it's time. Let's go twice a month. Let's go 3 times a month. Let's go every week. But push yourself, that accountability. We all need that community. But be here this week. We got something special in store in the service. And then we kick into Momentum, which is going to be our first official big series of the year. So looking forward to that. It's going to be some great content coming with that in the weeks ahead. But guys, listen, it's all about a choice. We talked about that a lot of the last 2 weeks. This new year, it's time. Make a choice. Which direction do you want to walk? Do you want to walk towards God or you want to walk away from God this year? What do you want, as Pastor Matt said, what do you want if you roll that clock forward? What do you want the end of this year, your life to look like? So, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to Pastor Matt, to Pastor Keith. We appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with us this afternoon. And again, we hope that you guys will be in church this week and we'll see what 2026 has in store for all of us.
Peace.
Have a good day.
Good time.
Bye, y'all.